For those of you that this is the first time, welcome. Hope that you enjoy it. For those of you that are repeating, super happy to see you again. And in these meetings, we usually have an agenda like that, although this is the first time that I actually remember to write it down. So first, we'll go over some community updates, community metrics to really show you how busy, how many things are actually happening in the Open Metadata community. Then today, we're also super happy we have Jürgen here. He's going to be our community spotlight for the month, and he's going to show you how they actually started implementing this special connector and the use behind that. Then we'll jump into a lot, and I say really a lot of features that we have actually been building for the new release of Open Metadata 1.4.0. We'll show you also more things that we built even on top of that critical mass of features for Collate, and we'll try to really make sure that we have some time for Q&A at the end. If you have some questions during the meeting, please let's use the chat. We have other teammates here that they are more than happy to keep answering any questions that you might have. And otherwise, by the end of the meeting, you can unmute yourself, put the cameras on, and we can just have a discussion on any of the topics that we have been discussing here. Then let's jump into the community metrics. We have been very stable, getting between 10 and 15 new open source developers every month. This is awesome. If you see some good first issues that you would like to tackle, if there's even something that we have not tracked, but you are brave enough to go and just pop up here, we are more than happy to help, and we are super grateful of the effort that everyone is putting here. We have also been growing the stars number by a lot, and now we are actually already crossing the 4,200 stars. The community members in Slack are also getting more and more busy with crossing now the 5,600. And if you don't want to miss any announcement in terms of when do we have any community meeting releases and whatnot, make sure to follow us both on Twitter and on Medium. Just to show you a few numbers here, only in the last 4 weeks, we merged more than 200 PRs. And in terms of the Slack activity, more than 500 questions only in the last 4 weeks. And we've seen more than 700 active members. So from these 5,000 that we were showing before, a bunch of them, they are day in, day out asking questions and contributing to the community on all of these questions. If you already have this knowledge, maybe there's an issue, there's some situation that you already faced, please give us a hand, interact with your fellow community members. We would be super grateful also to see more and more people getting involved on all of these conversations. Then super thanks to all of the community contributions that we have had this month. 13th, I think that the last time it was 12, so we are getting one extra pair of hands here to help us, and 10 of those are actually new ones. So thanks again. We really welcome all of the help that we can take, and we are super grateful to get also your insights and your feedback and your contributions to make sure that we can keep improving the product. And with that being said, big thanks to Jürgen for putting the time. Thanks for wanting at least to share the knowledge and your findings with us. Please, I will let you now share the screen and big applause.
So, okay. Warm welcome from Austria. So I'm happy to be here in this awesome community finally. My name is Jürgen. I'm a spatial data engineer with over 20 years of experience. So I'm also the data team lead of our company, MSKIS. And lead means basically that there are others who can code much better than I, and therefore Daniel is doing most of the commits in our GitHub repository, so you hardly will see any commit from me, but he's doing the hard work. Our company is called MSGIS, for Geographical Information Systems, but we don't only do GIS. We are not a startup. Our company is rather a software engineering company building tailor-made enterprise geographic information systems and solutions. We develop enterprise solutions for customers like the city of Vienna, the Austrian power grid provider, or even the city of San Francisco. So if you live around San Francisco, there's a small bit of MSGIS software in your everyday life, actually. Yeah, and this know-how we gathered in this field also worked out quite well in other fields of computer science. So it came that we were able to produce a smart home as a service platform for 2 major brands in Europe and South America, providing about 500,000 customers with a fully integrated smart home solution. Yeah. And finally, in the last years, we just combined our fields of knowledge and created a smart city solution, the superconnector. So basically, that's our product to bridging the gap between GIS and IoT for smart cities, as they save a lot of investment in the GIS. Every small city has a GIS actually, and they also want to invest into sensor applications, and to bridge that gap, smart city is our third business. If you are currently around North Carolina, in the city of Raleigh, there's actually the Smart City Connect conference right now, these days. And if you swing by, you could actually speak to our founder, Markus Scheiber, who is talking there and holding a keynote. But that's another story. Let's get back to GIS. So typical GIS information product is a map. Yeah, so if I show you the example of the base map at AT, you have auto imagery, you have airborne laser scanning, you get height models out of it, elevation models, you have infrastructure provided by infrastructure, yeah, streets and railways, and also addresses from the central address register or waterways. And you create a map out of all these different data sources from different providers. That's our major concern, that we have a lot of data from different providers, and to create a good data product with a high standard of quality, we rely on data lineage and good data management. As I said, we also want to incorporate IoT sensors like traffic, railway schedules, water level measures, or any other thing until your private energy management in your neighborhood. So all this data comes from different sources and in a lot of different formats or APIs or whatever. So most data management solutions are about here in the happy land with where the dolphins are swimming, and the products you all know and love, like Hive or Snowflake, yeah. But our business is happening down here, and our data lifecycle management wilderness is happening around all these standards and special formats, and a lot of things we have to integrate regularly on a daily basis. So I like to say that I'm doing this since 20 years. So we had all these big data aspects long before big data was even there. In the topic of metadata, my personal metadata journey started 2001 when my career started. And back then I already was collecting FGDC standardized metadata for all our data sources. And we soon developed a catalog system to just search and provide discovery for this data. But then FAT standards evolved, like ISO standards. 19150 is the most known out there. And something followed the next decade, which I call the dark ages. So always about ownership and compliance. There were also catalogs like GeoNetwork who tried to tackle all these complexities. But most of the time, as a software developer, it was about standard compliance, checking all these very complicated standards and over-engineered standards. So it wasn't really fun back then. And 2013, we decided to re-engineer all that. We said, stop, we can't use that anymore. We re-engineer all that. We created our own data catalog. We called it Metacat. Funnily enough, I don't know if you know, Netflix also released the tool. It's called Metacat. It was 5 years later, so we had the name before then. And we introduced features like Lineage, quality, and a metadata first approach. So like in software development, test-driven development, we wanted you to firstly create metadata, and out of that metadata, create the assets in the systems. But 2 years later, LinkedIn published Warehouse, their own metadata solution as open source. And so we decided, okay, it doesn't really turn out for us to keep on working on Metacat. We adopt systems which are open source. Also, light metadata standards like Stack for Earth observation or NGSI for smart cities evolved, and they really helped us to integrate the things better. Yeah, and 2022, I get to know OpenMetadata version 1.0. I was evaluating a lot of other solutions back then, and yeah, it caught my attention, and there we are. So the main problem for me is all about data lifecycle management. So the data management and Lineage, all these tools have features for keeping Lineage and data management, but only in your gold standard data warehouse solution you have. So in your, don't know, Snowflake data warehouse, you can do all that. But as I said, our sources are external providers mostly, and the integration don't cover that. So we have here a great lack of capabilities to come here from our preservation layer back to the source actually, or even, as I said, metadata first, to the planning which data assets you need and you want to incorporate. And also down the stream, by sharing and then recycling your data assets, there's a huge lack of capabilities. So our goal is to cover the whole data lifecycle. Why did we choose OpenMetadata? First of all, for us it was important that the platform is coming with a comprehensive but flexible core metadata schema and a user-friendly UI. So we wanted to bring collaboration into the game. Yeah, and central features as column lineage and observability are must-have. So that's clear. And as I said, OpenMetadata was version 1.0, so it's rock solid and production ready and easy to deploy at our customers, which mostly use on-prem systems still. Also, the extensibility that we can do custom connectors and can have a well-designed API, which we rely on. Also, the Airflow-based backend. And what I really like is this quite new feature of plugin apps into the UI. I'm really curious how this will turn out in the long end. So there are a lot of use cases I can think of how to extend the UI. Last but not least, no one can handle data governance alone. Collaboration is key, and OpenMetadata helps us to collaborate over our data assets through its features, but also because of this active community right here, where we can exchange how things are done the best way possible. Our solution, the spatial connector, especially, plugs into the ingestion framework. It relies on the field data abstraction library, and so it's able to integrate about 300 spatial formats at once. So you can Google GDAL. They have a listing of all the formats it can use, not only geographic formats or spatial formats, also just an Oracle database or anything you can imagine. what we are still working right now are raster formats like cloud optimized GeoTIFF and NetCDF. And you can also access this data directly, not only on your local file system, but also on any web-based resource like S3 or HTTP. Really doesn't matter. We also worked quite hard on the spatial pipelines. So there are ETL tools and pipelines in the spatial world too. They're quite special. So there are tools like the feature manipulation engine, which is basically an ETL tool we want to incorporate. And these tools don't have a server or an API, so we have to push metadata into the system, and therefore we will use the API. And also we want to connect to our smart city systems like FiWare, NGSI standards, where there will also be a connector soon. What's the key benefits of all of this? Yes, the holistic data lifecycle management, as I call it. You will be able to cover all your data during its complete lifecycle. So not only in your system, but the lineage back to the data provider where you collected your data, or the sensor, or anything where it comes from, and you can clearly say the data about the data quality. Is it up to date or not? Data owners are also able to collaborate on their very own format-specific assets. So let's say if you collect data from NASA, like satellite imagery, they won't collaborate with you in your system, in your data warehouse. They have their own metadata standards, they have their own systems, and so you don't need any proxy assets. You can directly incorporate the metadata into your system. And last but not least, your consumers get a real one-stop shop solution for really every data. Doesn't matter if it's spatial or not, and it's Lineage, and yeah. So you can find all that on our GitHub repository. It's published, and we are open for any issues and requests. But also I have to admit, our main focus is to get first drafts of all the other building blocks I just explained to you. So we want to keep on with the spatial pipelines and the smart city connector, and then iterate and improve on that actually. And also we support you if you would like to contribute. So just feel free to contact us for sure. Yeah. Okay, and I would also like to close my presentation with the phrase, good things come to those who wait. So I have to thank especially Collate for their efforts to build up this great community. And I think there might be some questions we could answer now.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Jürgen, for the presentation. Also love that you have everything in GitHub. So if anyone else is in this GIS space, you need to also bring all this metadata into your instances. Make sure that you are taking a look into that. If they are able to solve this big complex use case, I'm sure that there's something that all of us can learn and can reuse from this implementation. So thanks a lot. It's great to see how we are getting all of these different implementations. And I think that it really resonated, one of the sentences that you said, right? That it's regardless of the origin of the data, right? It can be random NASA satellites, it can be our own maps, it can be the weirdest format that you can imagine. You use the framework, you use the APIs, you bring everything into central place, and then from that moment onwards, you can enjoy all the benefits of having all the metadata integrated. So I think that you are really, let's say, taking all of the benefits of this API first architecture, this standard language that we're building here. So it's really, really awesome to see all of these different use cases coming into life. And thanks again for sharing. If anyone has any question, let's use the chat. We'll keep also some minutes in the end, and we'll also make sure that we are sharing these slides so that you can directly contact Jürgen. You can also collaborate with the special custom connector, and we can take it from here. So that being said, let's continue with the topics that we have for today. And the release is not yet closed, right? We are still working, fine-tuning, polishing the last details of the 1.4 release. But up until now, we are already into more than 400 closed issues and more than 750 merged PRs. And just to highlight a few, because I didn't want to put more content into this single slide. We have improvements into the activity feed, new custom property types. We have great Lineage news that we cannot really wait to show to you. We have a new way to explore your data from the data insights. We have data observability filters. We have a new feature, these new health endpoints that will really help you make sure that your open metadata deployment is working as expected, either after your new setup or after a migrations. We have really improved how you can interact with the connectors via SSL. We have added this Azure Key Vault integration for the secrets manager. We have revamped how you can actually go and click and find and add all of these glossary terms when you are adding them into the assets. We have added the services identity for Azure sources to make sure that you don't need to pass any password, any weird information. You let each instance handle its own permissions via IAM roles. We have also improved the ingestion performance. We talked about that on our last meeting, but it was worth it to mention again because it was a huge effort to make sure that we are decreasing as much the number of credits and money spent by big warehouses that we have here. We have also added the tables DDL as part of the metadata, and we also are allowing now for you to bring your custom organization theme into the Open Metadata UI. And on top of that, I mean, this is just the highlights, but even on top of that, we are adding the Metapilot on Collate, the Automator, this new no-code metadata automation process that we're also going to show you. We are also adding APIs and UI support to bulk upload assets. We are updating our incident manager to also show the number of failed rows, and also on Collate, we added the Alation connector. So that's just the big highlight topics that we brought here, and now we'll dive deeper into some of them. So Harsha, if you want to share your screen, we can get started into the amazing OSS improvements.
Thanks, Pei, and thanks, Jürgen, for an awesome presentation. Again, with 1.4.0, we are pushing a lot of these features into open source. I want to kind of highlight a few of these things. This is our existing sandbox in current release of 1.3.4. So when you land on open metadata, the first thing that greets you is the landing page. And we want to present this, a lot of the critical information to get, what are the activities that is happening around your data, how your data is growing, what are the knowledge articles being added, all the recent views and following, everything that you need to do from one center place, right? And activity feed is an amazing way to catch up of what are the activities that are happening since I last logged in. What did my team do? What are the new data quality assets that are being added? If there are any description changed, tags changed, any data quality tests failed. So a quick way of kind of just scrolling around and kind of catching up what's happening around the data. And the way we actually structure this is kind of gives you an idea of, for example, I added a few tags to here, someone joined today into Sandbox, someone changed the description, so and so. Like, how do we present this information even better to get more context to you, more easy for you to kind of collaborate around the data? And with that, I'm going to move into Sandbox Beta. This is our upcoming release in 1.4.0. Now, from here to here, you can see certain changes here. Like, you clearly know what are the tags being added, what is exactly the tag is being added, who added the owner. For example, in this case, Pere is removed a sensitive and tagged this as non-sensitive. Someone able to comment on this and kind of get to know this. And you will see like, description during data assets, descriptions. If there is a data quality test suite that ran, and there are a few failed test cases, you will clearly see this here, which test case failed, and you can click and go and find the root cause of it. So you want to make the activity feed as a central place where you can catch up to all the activities that are happening and collaborate with different personas in open metadata. And this is one step towards that. I think there's an amazing changes to activity feed and get your colleagues to kind of interact with you. Now, this activity feed change, now I'm going to jump into a table here. So in the customs table right now, We can see the schema, type, and description tags in glossary terms like you're doing. We added data quality column as well right here. So you get to know from right here, if there are column data quality tests written, are they passing, are they failing right here? And another cool thing that we added is in a table, maybe you have hundreds of columns, and you want to see what are the sensitive columns, what are the PI sensitive columns, what are the non-sensitive columns. Now I can click on filter here, and I want to look at PI sensitive columns out of hundreds of columns that my table has. I can able to filter it, right? Similarly, you will be able to filter on a glossary term as well. Quick way to kind of understand what's going on. Now from here, we used to allow users to kind of glossary terms. So I'm going to jump back to what's used to happen in the existing column. So glossary terms, the way we used to present glossary term is like a fully qualified, started with a glossary name, not just the term name. Gives you a good idea of, hey, I want to look at banking and I want to look at, other glossary terms. I can search based on it. But there is no clear structure. Like glossaries are hierarchical in nature, but you're not able to show hierarchy here. And that's one thing that we improved here in upcoming release is now I can go click on here and look at all the glossaries available in my company and able to kind of browse it, not only search, but look at, different kind of columns and everything else. For example, under the bank number, what are the other glossary terms? Gives you, for your consumers, for your analysts, for your users, easy way to kind of understand where this particular term is. You can still search for it, but you can also kind of browse right here and able to select this and update the glossary term. Very cool, right? Now from here, I want to jump into Lineage. So Lineage is something that we are continuing to provide a ton of investment into. We are the first one to do the column level lineage across the tables, dashboards, and pipelines among different platforms. And we've been at work with the SQL parser that works in different dialects for the past 3 years. And we continue to improve the UI and the APIs. Now, the first thing that you notice here is we have several data assets in OpenMetadata. You can have S3 buckets, you have pipelines, you have tables, you have Kafka topics, you may have ML models and everything else. So far in up until 1.3.4, we used to have ability to connect column level lineage between the tables through the pipelines. Now you can connect across all the data assets. Maybe you have an S3 bucket, which has a schema. Maybe you have a Kafka topic, which has a schema. All the way to ML model has ML features and dashboards has charts. You will be able to connect all of these things through column level lineage across all the fields, through the API, through the UI. And we'll continue to expand this automation into different services as well. And we added ability to search lineage. You can filter by domain tag, gives you a really powerful way to kind of collapse the lineage and try to get to what you're trying to look for. Let's say you're looking for PI sensitive data. You can now click on tag and select that. And one of the cool things that happens in Lineage is you may have a column name called transaction ID, which gets renamed into ID, maybe a customer ID, right? And ability to detect that lineage and automatically not only associate with it. Now you can come to here in search lineage. I'm going to look at company transaction ID. I want to find out how this particular column being used. So I'm going to click on this one. Now the transaction ID is actually going into customers and became ID. From there, it's going to staging customer able to, oh, it's a customer ID now, customers. Now you can actually analyze the life cycle of a column or across different services. Now imagine a complex data infrastructure that you may have. S3 bucket flowing into Kafka topics, flowing into Redshift, Snowflake, eventually landing into your reports and dashboards and so on. People tend to write their own select statements and everything else to create their own data models. They tend to rename it to make sense for their own context. Now, as a owner of a table, as a data governance person, you will be able to trace where this particular column went and morphed and changed and used by. And another feedback that we are keep listening is, hey, this is awesome lineage that you guys provide, but this is too much information for my users. I have business users as a governance user coming in. They find it maybe too complex for to understand. That's where we introduced a new feature called layers, right? So now you're seeing column level lineage. And as a business user, I don't want to look at all of this complex. I can take out this layer of columns. It shrinks the lineage and gives you the essential information. Now I'm a data owner. I'm a dashboard. I am seeing some data is missing, data being malformed. I want to look at my observability. Are there any incidents happening upstream? Are there any tests failing on it? So this layer gives you an ability to kind of, expand, add information on top of the lineage. And this is just a start. We want to add more and more features here. Maybe you have a data leaders who doesn't want to look at all of this information, who want to look at an overall picture of how the data flows. Like, for example, they want to look at, hey, what are the services that we are running in the data infrastructure? We can show in the lineage, we have S3 buckets. From there, it's landing into Kafka. From there, it's going to Snowflake. From there, it's going into a Power BI or a Looker at the service level. A data governance, I want to look at what are the terms being used in this lineage. I can add that as a layer. So this gives you a lot of flexibility, a lot of way to kind of slice and dice the data on the lineage using the metadata graph that we are building, right? Now, finally, to add a cherry on top of the cake, now you can actually export this data as a CSV file as well. So maybe you're doing an offline analysis of the lineage. You can take this data, share it with anyone. You can always share the lineage directly, but now you can actually export this, do further analysis as well. And that's not where we stop the improvements in 1.4.0. If you use dbt with OpenMetadata, we extract dbt models and show the dbt models right there along with the table schema and all the details. Now, with every table, we are also extracting schema definition. So you are a data analyst. I want to look at how the customer tables are being coming along. Maybe I want to copy that create table statement, create my own temporary tables or whatnot. So this is additional metadata automatically extracted from the databases and provided it to you. And all your analysts, all your users can see how the structure of the data is in the database itself. Coming to custom properties, right? Custom properties is a way to extend the metadata that you have. So we provide one of the key goals behind OpenMetadata is standardize the metadata, right? There is schemas, there is APIs, so that everyone knows how the table actually looks like in the metadata format. Now, every organization might have, hey, Harsha, that's great, but no, my team has certain additional values, key values that we need to add, additional properties that you want to store. How do I do that, right? Custom properties is a way to extend that metadata. So if you go back, I'm going to go back to my existing sandbox in the previous releases. You can go to the settings and custom properties, let's say tables. You add a property, you have few custom properties, very basic types that we added. Now, coming back into 1.4.0, what we are doing in custom properties, now you have a lot of advanced properties. So if I go here, add a property, you have date, duration, email, entity reference. Entity reference, if you're already familiar with OpenMetadata, is a really cool thing. All your assets can be referenced with the entity reference as a pointer to that asset. Let's say you want to add some additional users as experts for a table. You can use entity reference to do that. For example, in this case, I'm going to say add a call expert. I'm going to say entity reference. And in here, I'm going to choose user or a team can be added as the entity reference. So I'm going to define this as a custom properties. And now if I go back to my customer table, custom properties, now I have an expert as a field. I can add additional users, a team as my expert. Right, this is now able to extend, not just adding a primitive types, now we have much more richer types. You can add date, for example. You can add email, you can add duration and all of these things. And the UI gives you that kind of a widget to add the relevant information there. And now from here, again, we have a lot of things. I thought I'm going to remember all of them, but I'm going to take a look at the list here. Insights. Let me change for a few days back. So insights is a great way to understand how your data is growing, how your data is behaving within OpenMetadata. It gives you, for example, total number of data assets. Like you can actually track on a day-to-day basis how many new data assets are coming into OpenMetadata, how many assets with description, assets with owner, and you can improve your data culture with tiering and kind of telling entire organization these are the key data assets that are powering the business by using the tiers. And you also have KPIs to motivate everyone to kind of work towards that goal of fulfilling the descriptions, owners, and tiers. Now, these charts are amazing, but we never had any way to kind of figure out, hey, you guys are showing asset with descriptions. How about give me the list of asset that doesn't have description? Now you will see a link here, right here on each chart. You can export assets with no description, right? This gives you kind of way to understand, what are the teams not doing the work that you're set out to do, and what are the assets that doesn't have owners. Let me go back here. And the same thing will happen, will provide here with the Explore asset with no owner as well. Gives you an intuitive way to not only look at the insights of what things are going well, but also look at the assets that are not doing well either, right? Now, jumping back to my, okay, don't need to jump back there. So that's the insights. Now coming back to the observability, and again, OpenMetadata is the metadata platform that brings in discovery, observability, and governance together. We have a native data quality and a native data profiler right here so that your team can write test, deploy test, not only deploy test, but also collect the results, select, you see the results over a period of time series, and get alerted if a test case fails. Now you have a dashboard of a way to kind of figure out and test, filter out. For example, I want to look at all my tests that are written in OpenMetadata, and I want to look at any test that is being failed. And you can also look at based on certain time range. This gives an intuitive way of looking at be on top of, what are the tests that are failing, right? How do I, tell my owners of the teams to take care of these things? And when there is an instance gets open, I can see all of these things right here and get communicated what is the ETA of getting this test fixed and so on. It's an amazing ways of slicing and dicing. And again, this is the first step towards kind of making this as the platform for data quality for every organizations there. Jumping back to settings, right? I'm going to go to the preferences. What we added here is a custom theme. We have UI is near and dear to us, UX is near and dear to us. We already provide a way to add a custom logo. Now we add a custom theme as well. You may have your own company styling guide. You want to make it look like this is part of your company sort of products that is used by your products, used by your teams. So you can update your logos, you can update the colors to make it look like this is the platform that belongs within the company. Again, an easy, simple way to do it right from the UI. And finally, I want to jump back. One of the often question that we get here is, hey, I just deployed it, something is not working. My ingestion pipeline is not working, my SSO is not working, my migrations are not running, and all of that. Now this become like we keep telling you to, hey, look at the logs, give us some input so that we can actually help you. So instead of all of that, now we added a OpenMetadata status page. This gives you inherently how your OpenMetadata is set up. Is it being healthy or not? It tells you if database is healthy, able to connect, right? You can actually self-survey all of these things. Search instance, we need Elastic or OpenSearch to be running to be able to provide your search results and everything else. So, search instance connected or not. Pipeline service client, often asked question in support. Hey, hit deploy, my test connection is not working. My deploy is not working. Often the times the user might have changed the password of Airflow that we set up and forgot to update the OpenMetadata, right? So now you can actually come here and see, why exactly the pipeline service client is not able to connect to. Similarly, JWKS, right? We use ingestion bot using JWT token authentication. Often, people forget to add that URL to principal URLs. Now it tells you clearly everything. Similarly, when you go upgrade, is my migrations run? All of this is automated for you, but sometimes the steps missed, sometimes documentation is not right. Now you can actually look at here why the migration is not run. You can rerun it and make sure that you can actually get back a green status. That's everything is right here and provided for you for an easy installation and setup. I think that concludes what I want to kind of showcase. Again, we have 400 plus tickets that is closed. Amazing stuff that we demoed previously as well. For example, ingestion performance improved. That's an amazing piece of work. Took a lot of effort from our side to get that going. That's coming in 1.40 as well. Again, take a look at this. If I have any questions, let me know. I think with that, Pere, you can take it up.
Awesome. Thanks, Harsha. Thanks for the walkthrough. I actually like that now we are really sticking to this monthly cadence because it's at least the chance that I get to get super, super excited of everything that we are building. In the end, we are every day close to the code, try to fix things, try to pop things out, but really having the chance basically to zoom out a bit and figuring out all of the amazing features that each and every one of us in the community are actually pulling out. It's really, really awesome. So hopefully you are as excited as we are about the upcoming release. But the interesting part is that we are not done, right? We showed all of these very nice features about insights, data quality, and whatnot, but there's even more that we are actually delivering on top of these features for our Collate SaaS. And I would like to start by introducing our new feature, the Automator, right? And I would like just to maybe start with some theory crafting, right? So let's imagine that you are part of a rather small team or a rather new company, right? So you know everyone by name, you know all of your data assets by heart. There are quite a few changes, but you just manually go bit by bit. You update these descriptions, you answer any questions that you might need to answer. You can easily ping, hey, is this table under your domain? Are you taking care of those errors, right? So you are this data steward that manually and bit by bit, you are routinely working day after day after day in order to provide high quality metadata for your users because they need to be unblocked. They need to understand what the data means. They need to be able to review all the tests. They need to be able to properly figure out what are the right ingredients that any other data scientist or ops user or business analyst need to do in their day-to-day job. So you are there every day, bit by bit, helping out all of the rest of the people in your teams, right? But then teams grow, your data platform grows, and then the complexity exponentially keeps growing, right? But you get 10 times more work, 100 times more work, but your day stays the same, right? So if you actually try to keep following the same manual steps on, I review the metadata, I add the owner, I send a few emails here and there, I try to figure out what everything means, you are never going to finish, right? There is always changes in the use cases. There's always evolution in the data platform. There's always people getting in and out of the organization. So all of these metadata management state is always evolving, right? And actually, all of the users that are trying to manage the metadata in a company need to be able to properly scale as the teams grow and as the data platform grows. And the only way to actually achieve that sustainably without being 24/7 hands-on keyboard trying to figure out why are things moving along, the only way to solve that situation and gain back your day is via automations, right? And this is why we built here the Automator, this no-code solution to make sure that it's not only easy for your teams to create high-quality data products, it's as important to make sure that you can really maintain these high-quality data products and high-quality metadata at scale. So we are trying to solve questions and automate processes. For example, that you need to make sure that all the tables from the gold database are tier 1 tables. You know that this tiering classification is how we define the most important assets that we have in the organization. So this is actually very critical, right? Because then this tiering is going to have the impact on the data insights. You then need to also make sure that you are adding the right quality tests to all of these assets. So making sure that even if a new table eventually or a new scheme or whatnot gets added into the gold database, you really want to make sure that those are actually added as tier 1. You don't want to go just chasing all of these data assets and all of these changes manually. Then another possible use case, you have an account number column that might be used in different tables, in Kafka topics, in dashboard data models like be it in Tableau, Power BI, and Looker, and whatnot. And you want to make sure that whoever is actually using that account number, they have the right documentation at hand. You want to make sure that this account number is properly associated to the account number glossary term, because then it also streamlines the process of propagating the tags and whatnot that we add on the glossary terms, right? So this is yet another piece that either you go by hand and you try to figure out and you try to search manually for all of these accounts number, or you go and figure out a way of having an automation. And then finally, maybe yet another use case, you might need to find any asset that does not have an owner, and you want to assign the ownership to the data governance team as an interim owner until you figure out who is actually going to manage this or that data asset, right? So these three things are actually three simple examples, but that they have a very clear workflow in mind, right? And in order to show that, I'm going to share here my local instance, and let me go here in the Automator. As you can see, it's this new feature under the governance pillar of the platform. And if I go and try to add a new automation, I'm going to need to add a name. I can add a description, try to explain what it is that I'm solving here. But going back to my examples, there are three different actions, three different steps that actually I need to take here. Step number one, I'm going to figure out which assets I'm targeting. Maybe I need to automate this tiering on my tables, or maybe I need to add specific ownership to our databases or services and whatnot. So I can come here and I can say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and add an automation on my tables, but I'm not interested on my 144 tables, which is a very simple number because this is just my local, but this can easily grow to the thousands and the thousands of thousands in big organizations, right? So I'm going to say, okay, I actually want to dig deeper into that. So maybe one change that I can make here is, okay, I'm going to attack my tables that are from my Snowflake service and that they belong to specific schema, right? But as you can see, we have a bunch of other filtering and conditions that you can apply. Either you can filter by column, this really cool new way of adding the custom properties. You can also use that in your filters. You can attack for specific fields in the description, for domains, by owner, by service types, if you are already adding automations on PII data, on tier 1 tags. So all of these things you can apply here onto your descriptions. And once you have selected these assets, you can actually go and double check, like, okay, am I really going into the right place, right? Am I making sure that am I attacking the right table? So directly here, we have the link that it's going to redirect us to this Explore view where I can just make sure that, okay, yes, these tables look good. Maybe I want to double check what this table contains, try to understand a bit more what it is that I'm actually targeting here. And once I'm happy with the assets that I'm actually selecting, I can go ahead and add actions. And here, this is just our starting list of actions. We will continue to grow this release after release after release. So if you have any feedback, if you have any ideas of new cool things that you would like to automate based on the use cases that you have in your organization, feel free to let us know. But right now, we allow you to add descriptions directly into the assets, or in this case, I'm talking about tables, right? So I can come and I can say, okay, I want to add the description to this column and this column and this column. Or I want to add domains, I want to add owners, tags, I want to specify the tiering of my assets, right? Maybe this schema is the most important schema on my platform. Or I want to propagate the asset, the tags and the descriptions via Lineage. And this is very, very powerful, right? And this is just one of the use cases where you can really see the benefit of centralizing all of the metadata into a single place, right? Because we're bringing the metadata and the descriptions and the owners, we're bringing all of that via Lineage. So let's make sure that we are not repeating ourselves. If going back to Harsha's example, or here I have also a very nice Lineage table. If I know that these raw customers is propagating a few fields into my customers table, I can directly go into my raw customers and define, okay, those are the actual source of truth. Those are my descriptions and those are my tags. Why do I need to go then to my staging customers and to my customers table and bit by bit keep rebuilding all of these steps that I have already been doing? I can just go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to propagate this information by Lineage, or I need to clean something out, right? Maybe we had an automated process, a script or whatnot that was adding owners or certain tags that were not the correct ones. We can go here and also automate these kinds of pieces. So as you can see, a really powerful way to just have this very intuitive, no-code solution that in the end we can go, we can schedule when do we want this to run. This is, as you can see, the same experience that you would have with any other ingestion process in the platform. Go ahead, you automate it, this creates the automation, and then we are good to go. Right, so I also wanted to show you, I'm jumping into the poll. Hopefully I'm not falling into the demo effect, but I have here my customers table. As you can see, I don't have the right descriptions, I don't have the right tags, but on my raw customers, I actually have the specific source of truth, right? So if I now take a look on how I defined this lineage propagation, I kept it very simple. I'm just attacking my Redshift service. I'm specifying this lineage propagation. And important, I can also decide if I want to overwrite the existing metadata that I have in my services. In this case, I'm going to overwrite it. So if I go back into my lineage propagation, I can run it. This is just going to go into our pipeline service, is going to get this process running automatically. And while this gets up and running, I can just show you a few other recipes that we can have here. So for example, in this case, I'm adding the tier into this specific schema. So I can go ahead, this I just ran before the meetup. So as you can see, all of this tiering has finally appeared in there automatically. We can also come and add the owners, for example, right? So I want to add the owner as operation to my Redshift service once again. And if I take a look, let's see if I find my customers table. I actually think I have it here. As you can see, this is still keeping the governance owner, right? That was the original owner that we had on the data asset. But since I did not ask to overwrite that metadata, that's just going to be there. But if I jump back into my geometry table, now this is going to have the operations team as the owner. And bit by bit, we can keep building all of these processes, make sure that they keep running, that all of the metadata, all of these efforts that we're putting, all of these rules that we need to be consistent through time, they are also, let's say, living through all of these changes and the evolutions that we have in our data. And now let's go back here. Let's see if my propagation ran, I'm seeing the success. So if everything went properly, if I refresh this page, I am seeing these nice new descriptions, these new tags, these new glossary terms that came from my source of truth, my raw customers, where everything needs to be defined just once, enjoy it forever. So we really want to make sure that we are democratizing this metadata management also for non-technical users, because for those of you that are also technical, that you know how to play with the APIs, all of this is built on top of our APIs, right? So this process is about, hey, I want to propagate this, I want to add that, I want to tag ownership domains and whatnot. You can still leverage the open source APIs that we have here to make sure that you can follow up on these approaches as well. Then another very cool feature that we added here, and I'll fly through because I know that we are a bit tight on time, is this new feature on the incident manager. So you know that we want to make sure that anyone can come here, they can collaborate, they can understand what's going on with your data quality, right? We allow you to create the data quality test from the UI. We allow you to get the alerting system, these observability alerts outside of Collate, outside of OpenMetadata, and into your Slack, Teams, mails, whatever it is that you use. But up until now, if we saw these errors, our Collate customers, they still needed to go back, connect into, I think that I created this against Redshift, connect into Redshift and figure out which rows are actually not following that the columns need to be not null. But now we also have this sample of the data that it's actually breaking this contract, right? So directly from here, you can start gathering very easily all of the insights of what it is that it's happening into your platform to streamline and to speed up how you are going to respond to certain issues. And then we already showed it before, but you can come here, you can assign the incident to someone. In this case, I'm going to go with the admin of the platform. No one else is in my local environment. They can come here. We can discuss how we're going to bring this into resolution until we say, hey, looks like we had some missing data into our origin systems. We can close this and bit by bit keep building all of this knowledge center about how are we resolving past issues of this specific data asset. And finally, just to close, a lot of people asked about how we can bulk upload assets into the platform, right? Maybe you have some proprietary internal systems. Maybe there are some legacy systems that you just want to keep once into OpenMetadata and Collate and just document it once and make sure that at least you have that as the dictionary of your past lives, right? So now you can do all of this directly from the UI. So I'm going to come here into my Redshift service, and inside my dev database, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, so you can see we can also export, but right now I'm going to import. And I'm just going to import here some schemas. And as you can see, in this case, very, very simple. I just have one simple CSV with one schema. I can go ahead, let that be created, and this dbt shuffle new has been created. And now I can repeat the same exercise. Going to come here, I'm going to import some new data, and I have some tables in there. And as you can see, I have a few tables, and I can even change things, right? And this is very, very awesome because I can say super new table, and I can specify the owner. It's going to be the governance team. I can directly select some tags. And as you can see, the same tagging experience that you would have in any asset, you can also reuse that directly here from the UI. We can keep playing, we can keep adding all of these pieces of data that we need. Even if my CSV is incomplete, I can go ahead and keep adding rows after row after row until I'm happy with the metadata that I'm importing into my system. Click on next, reveal that what I'm creating is going to be properly generated, update the metadata, wait a few seconds, and now I have my super new table with the governance team and whatnot, everything that they changed, the tags, everything is just landing here as well in our Collate instance. And again, all of this is implemented on top of our API. So we are publishing as well these bulk import and export APIs into OpenMetadata. So if you want to reuse some of these experiences in your own deployments, you can go ahead and do that. We just wanted to make sure that also for those not so much technical users that they also have the need to interact with the system, they have this easy experience via the UI to make sure that they can keep populating and adding all of this necessary information into the platform. And with that being said, that's all of the news, all of the very nice things that we wanted to show to you today. We can maybe stay here a few more minutes in case that there are any questions about this spatial connector, about the features, about what we're bringing out in 1.4. We would be more than happy to have these discussions with you. If you have not done that yet, please start the project on GitHub. That's the easiest way that you can help us make sure that we are reaching more and more people and we're helping more organizations into streamlining their metadata management. Also, you can join our Slack to be part of the discussion and follow us into Twitter, or if these SaaS features are actually something that are actually catching your eye, please feel free to give us a call. We would be more than happy to have these conversations with you.
Hey, everyone. So we do have a release candidates for the 1.4.0, so in open source community. So please do give it a try in your staging, in your developer instances, give us feedback. We are almost like 10 days away from officially releasing it. So any feedback during this time will help us do a better release.
And thanks again, Jürgen, for your showcase on how you're bringing this GIS data or metadata into life on top of OpenMetadata. It's awesome to see all of these different use cases. If anyone else here would also like to present how they are enjoying the OpenMetadata product, please get in touch with us. We can schedule a slot for an upcoming meeting. And thanks a lot for being here. Thanks a lot for your attention. And looking forward to meet you in our next community meeting. Enjoy the rest of your days.